And we are in it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to day number 3 of the Proving Grounds closed qualifiers. Of course, my name is Jolly. I will apparently be your play-by-play, and joining me on this side is the ever wonderful Beatdown Boulevard. How are you doing today, Beatdown?
Doing excellent, Jolly. Really excited to bring this matchup here to the fans, just with you as well. We did work together. We talked about it once some time ago, but now we finally get to reunite and bring such a great game to fruition here. It's great, too, because this is actually my first time casting 100 Thieves Next ever since I've seen them join the amateur scene, so I'm really amped.
Oh, they are a fun team to cast. This is actually my first time so far in this close qualifier, just because I casted on the 12th, of course. So hey, we get a bunch of new opportunities here, right? And of course, me and Beatdown actually we're gonna be working together quite a bit here in the future. So I'm very excited. So we're gonna lay the groundwork out starting today. But you know what? Speaking of today, let's take a quick look at the breakdown of the teams, the games that are going on right now to start in the Group 1. So obviously on Twitch.tv/Academy, which y'all can have 2 tabs open at the same time, just so you know, it's gonna have GG Academy and Wildcard Gaming going on. And then, of course, right here, twitch.tv/unified live. Of course, we're going to be seeing 100 Thieves Next going up against No Team, which I think is a very exciting prospect for us, not just to be able to see 100 Thieves Next, but a team like No Team has had a lot of popularity in the past and is definitely struggling more this season, I would say, for sure, Beatdown.
The interesting thing, too, about No Team is it's that kind of roster where you do have a lot of really strong players who haven't actually found their way to, the more traditional amateur roster. I say traditional, but teams like this are also very normal here in amateur. But I mean teams more like, Wild Card, your Supernovas and stuff like that. But if you look at the roster, these are players who have all been around the amateur scene for the most part for quite some time. And they definitely have a lot of skill to boot. So far from what we've seen in the team, they have looked pretty good in previous matches. And I mean, this is a good time to just go ahead and look at last year's result as a whole, just to get an idea on how we got to this point here today. And you can see it, the matches from all of the groups here. No Team, of course, to Wanting Radiance, which is another roster that we're going to see today, and one you should look out for as well. Beating them out, I think, is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a team that we're going to keep eyes on. But we can see that there are very few 2-0s. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've come to recognize here. And, we're actually not that far out from playoffs, right? So to consider that we already have these matches, these very close ones in these best of 3s, going out to a full 3 matches is very, very exciting. We had the opportunity to do that with, I think I did get to see one of these blowouts, unfortunately, between Wildcard and Bay State previously. But still, some really, really good games that we've had in the past. And of course, moving forward for today, we are starting out with a fantastic one, and we already talked about it in 100 Thieves X. I think is the one that really everyone's been looking at, right? We're talking about 100 Thieves X Academy being the only academy labeled team in this matchup, but these guys have really had much trouble. I will say that this is a team that has not come to struggle, and you know what? Let's actually, as I'm saying, 100 Thieves is the team, no struggles, nobody doubts them. Let's pull up the predictions. All right, because it's not as though there are any doubts in 100 Thieves. But I gotta root for the underdogs on this one.
I was about to say, the one saying no doubts is the literal singular doubter. That is, oh man, you're something, Jolly. But you know what? I respect the underdog story. I respect the attempt. I respect being right as much as possible. Currently tied for first place. You love to see it. Let's go.
Here's the thing I'm most excited about, Beatdown, is actually, if we look at us, the only place that we agree here in today's matches is Golden Guardians versus Wildcard. Which, of course, we've got a few other members who have gone with Wildcard. But yeah, you and I, in both of the matches that we get to broadcast, both of these best of 3s we get to cast on air today, we have differing predictions. Of course, I'm the only differing one in this first matchup. But you know what? That's fine. I like to kind of rock the boat a little bit, okay? This is the fun part of it. I'm not in this to win for numbers. I already won in I won last season, the end of last season. I tied, actually. I think it was Magical. So,
oh my God, that's true. I don't know.
Yep, I tied. Yeah. So, I could go in this for the wins, but I also to go in it for the yucks and the supports for the underdogs. So, not only do we have that, of course, we do have, within this bracket. Let me triple check. Yes, excellent. All right, just making sure that everything that I have is locked down properly.
Trust yourself, Jolly.
We're pulling up pages. Let's look at the group overview as well that we have going on for, the rest of this bracket. As we can see Group A and Group B over here. Honestly, it's hard to to even say A, B, 1, 2 on these teams. We can see that no team just did recently go down to Radiance here, or sorry, take down Radiance, but they have been really putting up a strong fight. And I know you were talking about the fact that I think what it was Bay State took down UCI previously already. So this
Yesterday.
is a bit of a matchup. Yeah, just yesterday. So this is a bit of a rematch. And of course, you opted to vote for Bay State. I've got my faith in the UCI. It's really the anteater that gets me. All right.
Right. We're gonna see how that plays out later on here, because you guys might hear a little bit of bragging depending on who's right by the end of the day. But overall, just talking about today's match as well. The first one we're doing 100 Thieves Next versus No Team is for that chance to just automatically qualify into next week. You don't have to play, or rather play qualify for playoffs immediately. But on the other hand, for the loser, they do have to go and face the winner next week on, I believe it's next Monday, facing the winner of our second match of the day, which is going to be Radiance versus, I believe, Team Ambition.
Yes, Radiance and Team Ambition, both of whom have had their kind of ups and downs so far already in this bracket. And both of, honestly, I think I'm really excited for that one. As good as this one is going to be with watching 100 Thieves Next, and with so much on the line, so much contention here, as you were talking about for this qualification later on. I sincerely think that is going to be one of those where you've got these really hungry teams who are trying to work their way up as close to the top of the bracket as they possibly can before going into this one. But you know what? Let's, I guess, talk about the teams that we've got here. I think we have actually got the rosters for these two teams. We can get that pulled up as well, so we can kind of talk about these players, because that's what our job is, right, Beatdown? Is to talk up these incredible players. As we take a look, we can see, of course, no team is going to be starting on the blue side. 100 Thieves X is going to be starting on the red side. And you know what, Beatdown? I'm going to let you kind of take the reins here and talk about any particular players you want to, and then I can highlight my own individuals if I feel like you were a little lackluster on something.
So there's no pressure. Hey, I'm just being tested at the moment here. Honestly, Jolly, 100%. When I look at these players, I want to talk about all of them. Like, we have the thing that's so exciting too is that despite all the changes, despite all the promotions, there's still a lot of young talent with potential here in the amateur scene, and there even talent who's been around for some time who still have a lot of potential. It's really exciting to see. We talked about No Team a little bit here, and players we should definitely be looking out for. Griffin and Blaze certainly one, especially with Griffin being so young. I think he's 15 or maybe 16 years old. But let's talk about 100 Next a little bit. Let's talk about these players. I mean, speaking about 15-year-old players, we have General Sniper, one of the most, I think the most hyped player probably in amateur just ever, just with how much excitement has been coming through, with how good this, I think he's challenger when he was like 13 or 14 or something absurd like that. And so far from what we've seen, he is as good as advertised. And it's so exciting to see him live up to that potential. And especially because him still being so young, he still has so much further to go, Jolly. And if you look at the rest of that roster too, I think I want to just talk about Fnatic and Array as well, because they came from a team together previously on Resolve, and so there is that bit of synergy there, and I think both of them actually performed really well. Fnatic particularly good when he's playing those enabler jungles who are more for the playmaking. When you think about champs like Xin, Lee Sin, he does an excellent job there, and I think that's part of how 100 Thieves have been liking to play things out. Array, before this year, thought to be one of the best AD carries outside of the academy scene, so looking to see if he's going to be able to keep up that level of play. And the one that's also interesting to me is Dawnbray in the support role, subbing in for Sword, and the fact that he's just coming in as a sub, just covering for Sword last minute here. He's actually been playing really well so far for this roster. I think to the surprise of some, even though I always thought he was a good player, I think he's fitting really well for the moment here, and that really bodes well for him.
Yeah, those are big shoes to fill, right? Like Sword is definitely not one where you are going in you know, I mean, it's just big shoes to fill. It's big shoes to fill. We are going to be starting the draft, of course, very, very quickly here. So don't worry, guys. You won't have to look at our faces too much longer. And those are all the stats that we have for you, right? That's all the fun stuff that we like to go through. But, you know, the big stand-up for 100 Thieves X, and probably because I have been involved in the collegiate scene so much, I love Array. I love the fact that, you know, you've got to highlight Array as a play. 7.0 overall KD currently out of the 3 days that we have had for these teams to play, which is, I mean, you know, all right, you're looking at an ADC, you're going to say, okay, they're supposed to have a high KDA, but in the current style of the game, it's a lot less about that lower half of the map, right? We're doing a lot of focus on like bruisers, on how some of these heavy initiators that are a little bit towards the top side of the map, try to get the real burst damage coming from those mages or whoever you decide to really go through with in the mid lane. And the bottom lane is kind of like, all right, well, if you guys do poorly, hopefully we can provide some recovery. If you do well, hopefully you can take that into the late game. But it's definitely not the game it used to be a few years ago where it was feed the ADC, right? This is the carry. In fact, I mean, Riot has even try from the term ADC and just try to call them the bottom laner specifically because of this, to give more opportunities to, having the mentality of a carry in other positions. But I think Array, I mean, I could watch Array play now and I would think it was League of Legends several years ago, right? It's the time of ADCs when all of the crit items first got reworked and redone. This is a player that is constantly taken in some of the champions that I either love to play, I could play better. And when I think of certain champions, when I think of recently Xayah, when I think of Kai'Sa, I think of Array as a player involved in these. So that's that's all the coverage I'm going to give for Array, because I already talked about this player enough, especially when it comes
I could tell.
Yeah, especially when it comes to the Xayah, because this was I've always been a big advocate for Xayah. I've always said since she came out that her kit is busted, and Array was one of the first ones to really consistently start taking her in in the middle of the last season, really. So exciting to see. I do, no team. Griffin, of course, very strong, as you were saying, as we are heading into game number 1. This is a best of 3, of course, between No Team and 100 Thieves Next. But this is just kicking the day off for us, because we are going to be having another best of 3 right after this beatdown.
That's right, and we have so many matches, we have so many games to see on the night. It's all starting off right here, and we're already going through this pick and ban phase. We've already pretty much gone through the first wave, and it's worth noting too, the Hecarim ban especially is a nice one. It is something, if Hecarim's available, more often than not, No Team will grab it for Griffin. They love to play that funnel composition just to put as much resources as they can into that part of the map, allow him and Blase to do very well into the later parts of the game. And you can see it, the Xin and Trundle have been traded right away. Fnatic's definitely putting a lot of time on this champion as well, and I like Trundle overall just because of, one, the early playmaking is just as good, but I think overall as time goes on, he really does better into a lot of these melees like Xin Zhao, Viego, and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. He hasn't actually had, a high Aphelios has a high pick rate. This Trundle has been a very, very high pick rate on the other side. We have a lot of players who really, really favor this Trundle. It absolutely means that you can do these early invades too. You are capable of really just navigating your way and invading into the enemy jungle early on and just saying, all right, even if I get kind of taken down, I have the ability to speed myself up, have the ability to get myself out of these situations, or potentially at least stall out until one of the other members is able to come support. And of course, we are going to see the LB come through. This has been another one with a very high ban rate. Actually, this is the first game I think I've seen LeBlanc show up in a place other than in the bans.
Right, and it's a nice pick too. It fits into what Blase likes to do in that mid lane. He plays a lot of very aggressive picks, like things like Vex, the LeBlanc especially, and a lot of it is to facilitate their jungler. Again, Griffin, who in this early game is going to be looking to fight a lot, skirmish a lot, so this LeBlanc ends up working with it really well. I like the Karma pickup as well, because we haven't seen the ADC come through just yet, but I think Jhin would be pretty nice AD if it doesn't get banned out for No Team to grab to the later parts of the game. The Malzahar, however, is really scary for Insanity, just because as LeBlanc, it's not a good time. Anytime you try to go in, you will get hit by that Nethergrass post 6, and it makes it very difficult to do what you want to do. Instead, it is going to be the Nautilus, even though Thresh is available, and I think that I actually like that pivot there for Donbray, just because a lot of the games he's been doing a good job on, he has been playing the Nautilus, and at this point, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Let him keep playing it.
Yeah, and for Donbray too, it has in the past, I would say the past couple of days, been more of one of those where, all right, you're kind of forced onto something like the Nautilus. The Nautilus has been a good pick. I like the confidence in this tier of, all right, we've got a Karma on the bottom lane, right? That's what we're looking to go into. So if that's something where you can lock him down, you could throw out the anchor and then apply your passive. You just walk away with the E popped, and hopefully at that point, Aphelios is able to provide so much damage in the early game already that should be a secured kill. And, at this point now too, having banned out both Caitlyn and Jinx, and then locking in the Aphelios, you do have the Jhin. It's probably the next option, but we can already see that Ezreal is going to be the next ban here. For all we know, they're going to finalize it with the Jhin ban. That was the expectation, and that really narrows things down for No Team.
Yeah, we're really kind of digging deep into this AD carry pool. I think the ADC has seen, 4 bans so far, and Jhin Karma is really oppressive in the 2v2, so it makes sense that you want to get rid of that one. And we'll see what Scooped is going to take into that bottom lane. And it's interesting too, because when you think about bot lanes and the 2v2, Array, Dawnbray have been very good so far. Array in general is a strong AD carry that we already highlighted, but Scooped and Jashuka, it's worth noting, have actually been playing together for quite some time. And for their previous team, Revival, they played through most of last year in the Proving Ground circuit, playing together. And I think overall, Scooped, I think when we saw a lot of good things from him, it was during the time where Kai'Sa was really strong. I don't think we're going to see the Kai'Sa come out here just because she hasn't been as good lately, despite the growth of that crown build that I don't like. But things like Misfortune would be fine. I think things like Tristana would be okay too. Ashe would be an interesting one because you do offer a lot of setup for the rest of the team, facilitating that aggression I was highlighting earlier for no team. But either way, there's a lot of options still they could go for clearly, and they like to show that to us just with all the hovers we're seeing in the champ select.
All right, we get it, Scooped. You have a deep champion.
Oh.
Okay, you own a lot of champions. You know what? I'm really surprised that of all the champions that were hovered there, it is the locking on the Varus. There's a lot of opportunity with all the long-range damage that is in the kit right now already for 100 Thieves, as well as having something like a Trundle, where you have just a lot of potential initiation here. It's going to be pretty difficult if Scooped gets a little bit behind in this, early part of the game, which is really the expectation here. They're going to have to play it really, really slow because Varus does not supply a ton of damage early on. The best that you're getting is the piercing arrow, but it takes so much mana and the cooldown is so long in the early stages of the game that Aphelios is just going to be able to kind of pick and choose where he wants to initiate and engage.
Right.
And that kind of scares me, especially based on the rest of the initiation that 100 Thieves has across
that's
the board. That's insane.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, when you think about the Varus' ultimate, that Chains of Corruption, being able to start off team fights, I mean, even early on, the cooldown is not terribly or oppressively long. So I think that is what no team are leaning towards for some of these setups, these pickoffs, these range damages from those piercing arrows and the Karma poke. And also, they have ways to potentially go for this all-in with Griffin on the Xin Zhao. So I'm looking for this early game for the mid jungle of no team to really get aggressive and try to make plays early on, especially because if you look at the other hand, you have Trundle and Victor as the mid jungle for 100 Thieves. Trundle can do a lot early on, but I think Insanity is going to be waiting just a little bit until he can get some farm, upgrade the Hex Core a little bit so he can actually get some wave push, do some more damage here. One thing we did not get to highlight though just yet was that the Akali was last picked over here for 100 Thieves Next. So General Sniper, the player we keep hyping up for nutty mechanics, is going to be playing a really flashy assassin.
Flashy assassin and able to, really one of his favorites as well, and get a bit of a counter pick in here. Now, Gwen is one of those that even if she kind of falls behind, she really has a big opportunity for her survivability, and her damage can come in late game because she only needs those 2 fully built items to actually be very, very aggressive. And then, you throw a Zonia's on top of that, and that's kind of the trifecta for this champion to be able to survive these engagements. But there is just a lot of burst. I mean, the amount of potential for the tankiest member here in being Griffin on the Xin Zhao, which, is certainly not the one that you really want as your initial frontliner, is going into, so much burst that I can't imagine survival of longer than a second if there's an initiation in the later game, if a couple of items are picked up. And the other thing that I'm seeing really from this 100 Thieves X team is if they get the ball rolling early, there is no stopping them with the composition that no team currently has lined up.
I think I agree with you there. 100 Thieves Next, definitely when it comes to the front to back, the way they're going to want to team fight as time goes on and how strong they're going to be with the itemization later on, I think they're going to be in a good spot. Even if they go even in the laning phase, not a whole lot of exciting things happen. That's why I think, at least for no team, they're going to have to play that aggressive early game. Again, leaning on the mid jungle like I was highlighting and hoping that they can be able to, when you have that kind of aggression, when you have that threat from that LeBlanc, you will have the opportunity to potentially assassinate some carries. Array and Sanity especially are going to, and even Sniper, to be honest, are going to have to worry about where this LeBlanc is going to be, especially if she picks up an early lead. And because of this, even though it's hard to execute, no team have this sort of multi-threat composition from different angles. Of course, you have the front line from the Xin and Scooped playing this Varus and the poke with the piercing arrows, but you're also going to have Blaze coming from across the wall, from these flank angles, and it's going to have to force 100 Thieves, if they do end up falling behind, to be very careful about how they approach objectives, because this is a big thing they need to worry about.
Yeah, it definitely is. you got to worry about LeBlanc all the time. But then my anticipation for this is that 100 Thieves is going to say, all right, cool. Well, we'll just send Fnatic down into the mid lane a couple of times. We'll find a couple of good pinches. Or, I mean, when you're saying, or when you know, you're kind of looking at a team and the opportunity kind of lies within somebody like LeBlanc, who, while yes, is able to burst down a ton, you know, obviously one of the better late game champions. If that's your saving grace, and they're as squishy as they are, and you have as much of this, you know, having Fnatic on this trundle, having the pillar just in existence, being able to really quickly get into these, and of course having, you know, not the most range of any mage, but still a decent amount of range, at least on the death beam that you're getting from the Victor there. That's the scary thing, and I think 100 Thieves is more than capable of knocking that out of the park. I mean, this is something that's basic, right? On the levels of like what 100 Thieves has shown us that they're more than capable of. So I think no team kind of has to think ahead on that one. You've either got Blaze sitting way far back, right, and not able to get ahead at all, which is terrifying to think about, or you just kind of have to have Griffin really very carefully watching exactly where Fnatic is, and also just keeping an eye on Blaze to ensure, okay, you good, baby, I'll come back, I'll check on you here soon.
Yeah, it's basically the jungler. That's why they always like to be that you are basically the babysitter for the rest of the team. But yeah, of course, keeping an eye on Fnatic early game, getting that early information is going to be important. Avoiding some of those plays he's going to want to make is going to be just as big a deal for no team as the aggression that they're going to need to put through in the earlier parts of the game. On the 100X side, of course, because of the trundle, they do have a lot of play options too. And one thing I want to highlight too is I want to talk about Insanity just a little bit, since he was the only player, actually, I think so far in this lobby we haven't really just taken a second to talk about too. And he's an interesting case for me just because he's a player who last summer was playing for Immortals, LCS team, and now he is here in Amateur because, I mean, the dude wants to compete. It seems like he wasn't able to get the opportunities that he was looking for, but he wants to play the game. Even if it's an LCS affiliate team, the fact that he's playing in Amateur really just proves that. And I actually am like really impressed with that.
Yeah, I am too. I like to see that resilience and, all right, you know what, I might have been taken down a peg by not being signed with an actual org this season, but I'm not going to allow that to take me out of the running for other potentials. And same thing, you know, with Academy. I think a lot of players are like, well, if I can't get Academy, then I might as well be out of it. But I think the amateur scene, there have been so many players picked up to be either brought into Academy or even straight into LCS potentially for a lot of these teams from Amateur. And there's also just been so much of a highlight on Amateur in general because it does kind of encompass, you know, it includes Collegiate, it includes some Academy, depending on whether or not the Academy teams are actually, you know, able to be a part of the scene in the season, as we are heading into game number 1. That's right, folks. Y'all don't have to look at us any longer, at least until the game ends, or if we have any issues in the middle of it. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. I didn't just cause anything. Don't worry.
I don't know. I didn't hear you knocking on anything, Jolly. You can't just say it.
I did.
Okay, fine. All right, I'll trust you. I'm just making sure because it's very important that things are fine at this moment. I'm actually gonna do a quick little touch wood myself as we get into the game. Yeah. Okay. See.
All right, I guess my knocks aren't very loud. We do have no team, of course, on the blue side. 100 Thieves next on the red side. It looks like nothing is going to be too crazy. We have seen some of these teams making some really sneaky plays, 5-man invades to start the game out, just to try to, even at the last second, to try to take the buff. But these teams, they're going to walk forward with a little bit of trepidation. They're going to show some respect.
Right, and I mean, we're already seeing a bit of the vision game play out in the early parts of the game. Some defensive vision for 100 Next, just watching for the invade. Excuse me, if Griffin might try to go ahead and try and steal Fnatic's Raptors. We're already seeing a lot of pings come through here. My God.
That is a lot of pings. And you know what? It's good to just have that awareness early. Sure, while maybe that number of pings is a little unnecessary here, it's good to get yourself in the habit in the first minute and a half of the game by just spam pinging and saying, I'm going to continue to do this as the game goes on. I'm not going to forget to ping and vocalize everything that I see, because this game, it is really, really important for no team to kind of make that presence. It's 100 Thieves, though, that are really putting out all of these pings in the first place. And at that point, you got to wonder, all right, are they just having fun?
Well, for the moment, because of the leash, Fnatic's whereabouts will be known. Where he's starting is going to be known to no team. However, Griffin will just go ahead and go for the solo. as I don't think anyone will be able to know where he will be. So maybe he can use that to get the drop on potentially Insanity in the mid lane. I don't know if diving bot anytime soon is going to be an option there. So we're going to have to see. I expect him to maybe full clear and then see what he can find on the map.
Yeah, diving bot, you know, we've seen it happen in the early parts of the game occasionally, but it's not nearly as good in the current meta as it is to get your top laner or to get your mid laner ahead. As soon as you have the ability to roam down into that duo lane in the bottom, you get a lot more opportunity, and also opportunity for players like Chishuka and Dawnbray to do some roaming of their own, because that is still a massive part of the current meta, is getting the support roam as early as possible. But obviously, you don't want to leave behind your ADC if they're in a dangerous position. And so by having somebody like a Fed top or a Fed mid come in and assist Scooped or Array, that gives the opportunity for these supports to find roam of their own.
Right, and we already talked about how good Dawnbray has been so far with affecting the map in the games we've seen, especially when he is on this Nautilus pick that he's playing right now. So I expect him to do the same thing this game. And we talked a lot about the backline access that Blaze is going to have because of things like the LeBlanc. And I think we got to stress Sniper is going to have something similar because of this Akali. And I'm curious what the build is going to be as well, because I know you and I talked about it just a little bit before we went live today. There's a new Akali build that has become quite popular, the Turbo Chem Tank with the Demonic Embrace, where you are quite tanky, and you still end up doing a lot of damage with your full combo. And with the amount of squishies on the side of no team, that's looking like a pretty juicy option.
And you're zooming too.
You got
to consider that as well with the active available on that chem tank. It offers exactly what 100 Thieves want for going into this composition, is not really having to worry about accessing the backline, right? That little bit of frontline that they do have in both Dragoon and Griffin is not going to be nearly enough if you have Sniper running something like that. Of course, if that's not the case, if he decides to go a different direction, I'm not going to be super surprised about it either, because if he decides to instead just kind of go pure assassin style, standard assassin style with her, it makes sense as well for this. Blaze is going to go in, and it's going to be first blood from Insanity. Not even the opportunity for Griffin to partake in that fight.
Oh, Blaze is going in a little bit too soon, hoping he can tenderize it just a little bit for his jungler to come help. But fortunately, that was not the play. And also, we have another play top.
To flash in, and that means that Dragoon is not going to find themselves in a good situation. Sniper is going to be the one to pick that up. And this is what I'm talking about for the standard jungle rotation, as we take a quick look at that fight one more time.
Right, and here it is. Like it's actually a pretty nice view of how it's going down. Like, you're just gonna see Insanity. He's been landing those lasers, I think pretty much every single one of them. So the poke has been insane onto Blaze. Any minute now, we're actually just gonna come back to live as we see Array and Dawnbray do manage to get a wave shove, and they can go ahead and recall here. I think overall, the thing I want to highlight is the top play was nice, because the thing with top laners, when they don't take flash, you do want to try and abuse that as much as you can, especially champions like Gwen, who are going to be a nightmare if you manage to let her free farm. Trying to get gold advantages however you can in that place is probably a good thing here, especially because of the fact that Dragoon has been farming better than Sniper, but the kill will probably even them up.
Yeah, and you know, some of that has to do with the fact that Sniper was leashing Fnatic at the early, right? So Dragoon got 1 or 2 free creep. But then you also have Sniper, keep in mind, decided not to use the teleport here already. So it's decided to keep that available in the pockets in case there is a play elsewhere on the map. And, particularly considering that the Dragon as well is going to be a point of contention here. We can already see some vision coming through on that. Potentially a fight also, as Dawnbray ends up using that Hex Splash. The piercing arrow does not hit, but Griffin is still going to be able to pick the one up. And now Griffin will go down. It's Dawnbray that picks up the kill. The passive from Dawnbray is applied to Shuka, who is trying to figure out how to get out of here. The ultimate coming out of Insanity in the Chaos Storm is now targeting Scooped, who has to run away. But all it takes is a quick hook from Dawnbray, and 100 Thieves find themselves another 2 to 3 kills.
And it was a really nice move here for Insanity to put in that DPS, and now 100 Thieves bot lane, even though it was Dawnbray who picked up the kill instead of Array, overall, you get scooped out of lane, you're able to push in another wave unencumbered, and that means you could even potentially threaten some of these third plates here. But Griffin knows that. That's why he's already making his way back to this part of the map, either hoping for a play to come back in their favor, or wait a second.
Oh no, that's not a good place to be. Jashuka tries to flash out of that one, ends up getting the tether with the Monster King. Griffin find the one.
Wow.
No, Fnatic will pick up the kill. Griffin will go down immediately after returning to this lane. Jashuka is going to apply, or to get that passive applied from Nautilus. Honestly, I think that's one of the most busted parts of his kit, is just his darn passive.
Yeah, the fact that you can root on autos once every 6 seconds onto the same target is pretty insane. But overall, nice for Fnatic to be able to make his way back to the bottom side of the map. And we're going to take a look at a replay just to see how everything went down. The thing, too, is I like the bait ultimately from Jashuka, because the Mantra W gives you a nice chunk of healing at the start and end of the channel. So you're hoping that's enough time. It is. The problem is Fnatic also comes to join the play here. And ultimately, Griffin doesn't even get that kill. That is indeed feels bad. And pretty much ultimately, what we didn't want to happen for No Team is happening here, Jolly. 100 Thieves Next are the ones finding their stride in this early game.
Is what I was worried about, and that's going to give an opportunity now for Dombre to find a hook. He's not going to find the hook, but he's going to find the follow-up route, and that means the Scoop is not even going to get a chance to get out of this. The Chains of Corruption came out, but to no avail.
And I love that, punishing the fact that Scoop doesn't have flash. Fnatic's just going to keep on showing up at this side of the map here, and it's going to mean an easy Dragon #1 for 100 Thieves Next. Already, such a commanding lead here, 3,000 gold at this 8-minute mark, and it's happening in all the places you wanted to. Sniper.
That's huge. Out comes the needlework, and it's so much damage that Dragoon is taking, even though they're dealing a decent amount in response to Sniper. Both of the ignites did come out there. Neither teleport available, and I appreciate the attempt maybe at No Team trying to go in for that, but they decide to go for the Rift Herald instead.
And they might go for a dive here on the side of 100 Thieves. Oh my god, leave this man alone.
It is going to be Scoop who's targeted here, but that gives Ray some damage, as it is going to be Dombre who has to take the aggro. What an aggro swap there. Dombre hovering around the outside edge. In the meantime, Sniper on the top side is going to be able to pick up the kill with the ultimate there. No success for No Team aside from picking up this Rift Herald.
Oh, 100 Thieves winning all across the map here, Jolly. Insane play coming out from Sniper. He's going to be able to shove this wave, and maybe he collected that turret play, but actually no, he's already recalled and head back to base. But the fact that Isakali is now 2-0, he is going for that build that we were discussing, the Turbo Chem Tank, which is going to be pretty insane. And now we're going to see a replay of how this top play happened. It's just Sniper doing Sniper things, man. And Dragoon did want to see if he could get this wave shove, but at half HP, it was easy enough for Sniper to be able to take this one down.
Yep. Quick and easy peasy, especially for somebody like Sniper who plays so incredibly aggressively as it is. This is a common champion that we see. If you're going to be picking up a Kali, you are not going to be playing, you're not going to hold back. That's just not a thing that you do. And Sniper is not a player that holds back by any means, so this combination is perfect for him. And going into Dragoon, the fact that you're now sitting at 0-2-0, sure, you're ahead in creep still because you have had some movement around the map by Sniper, as we saw, towards the bottom side. They're totally okay with that. You're looking at 4,000, 4,500 plus at 10 minutes in. That's absolutely nutty here, Beatdown.
And it's just a nice spread as we can take a look at the gold stats here. You do have Griffin here. Actually, hold that thought. I think Sniper could be in trouble.
Oh, man, not when you got a Shroud. Griffin coming in just a little bit too late. Sniper giving himself a lot of space there. In the meantime, Fnatic is going to come in. Out goes the pillar. Sniper's going to try to follow it up.
Perfect
with some
execution.
Damage is going to be responded to. Here's the needlework comes out, but it's not going to be enough there. Griffin manages to escape, but it's still another kill for 100 Thieves Next.
Oh, Griffin might look for this 1v1. Yeah. Oh, but he misses. Okay.
Oh, the thumbs up coming out of Sniper. No way, Sniper. You got to leave it at this point, and he's gonna turn it around for the kill. You don't see the thumbs up from Sniper and expect that he's not gonna win it, even at a sliver of health. And now Array is all alone. Finally, Dombre has been taken out. The ultimate used by Scoop the heal to follow it up to stay alive. They're trying to look for a follow-up, but Array has a lot of damage. The ignite goes down. Is there enough coming from Jashuka? Yes, it will be. And it's a shutdown onto two bottom members here of 100 Thieves Next.
Oh, I mean, ultimately, this is pretty rough for Scoop. He is going through the blender right now, Jolly. The fact that he's not able to pick up a lot of these kills is really making it harder for him to come back into the game here. Yes, it's nice. We are shutting down Array. We are sending him back to the fountain, but I mean, Karma with a bunch of kills isn't going to do as much as maybe a Varus. So you need, and if you look conversely on 100 Thieves side, all the gold, Jolly, it's in all the right places. Your carries, Insanity, Sniper, and Array all have such a commanding gold lead over their opponents here, and are just dominating this game one.
And, you know, the only other kill that is not one of the two that has been picked up there by Jashugo, which great job for at least being able to salvage something, is Griffin, right? Who's also sitting at 1-3-0. So even the members that have found success here, it's partially not the members that you want that success to really be passed on to, but at the same time, they've also gone down a lot themselves and missed out on a lot of experience, a lot of gold elsewhere on the map. And so Griffin still does have a lead, but how much of Fnatic have we seen with successful ganks? And you know, is that slight lead in creep worth it? I would say absolutely not.
Now, this time around, no team will bring 3 to the top side instead of 2. Sniper will unfortunately have to respect that, as the first turret will go down. And that's actually a nice chunk of gold into Dragoon's pocket for someone who I think so far is only slightly behind just because of the extra CS he's gotten for himself here. No, Sniper.
Maybe getting caught out here. The needlework is going to come out. It's going to be another charge as well coming out of that Rift Herald. But man, it's just, Akali's just too slippery.
Yeah.
Even with the pressure here, you can kind of see why I was anticipating maybe Griffin spending more time on
he's going?
Maybe even scooped, and it's going to be these 3 members. Might as well here as Fnatic decides to put down the frozen domain. Try to get some more movement here. Griffin is the target. Out comes the Ignite onto Griffin. That should be the easy pickup. Will Sniper go down in the meantime? The Ignite goes on response, but it's not enough to pick up the kill on a Sniper. And Fnatic cleans up the mess.
Most hype player in amateur for a reason, Jolly. Look at Sniper and how he navigated that fight. Of course, his teammates came just in time, but for him to live with such a sliver, I'm scared. I didn't look at what the HP was. I actually don't want to know. And now you have Insanity in the top lane just picking up these turret plates here too. All this extra gold, all this farm denied from Dragoon. God, what a surgical game from 100 Thieves Next.
It really is. And this is just what we were talking about, Beatdown, before the game started, is if 100 Thieves gets the ball rolling early, I think I mentioned I don't think I see an opportunity with the composition that no team currently has to make a recovery, and that was so close for Dombre to find her host initiation. They did not see Insanity, and already look at the amount of damage Luke's taking here, moving into the mid lane, and it's going to be some pressure down as well as they navigate to the Mountain Dragon here for 100 Thieves Next. We do have a quick pause right now, guys, so sorry about this. Of course, we want everybody to be able to play at 100%. Right? The last thing you want is somebody to be saying, you know, that team fight, had we not lost that team fight, maybe we could have won the game in the overall, and had I not had that lag spike, or had I not had my monitor do that weird thing, we potentially could have won that. So hopefully it's not an issue on the side of the players, and hopefully that is something that we can resolve very quickly, because this game, you know, is gonna end soon. I can safely say that. I mean, I feel like, all right, we've kind of put down these stipulations, right, or these win conditions, I guess, for both of these teams. 100 Thieves has hit theirs. No team has missed theirs. You know, has kind of gone past the point of really being able to recover or go for the win condition of getting Blaze leveled up high, getting scooped some of these kills, so this experience and this gold. And so, you know, it sucks to say something like that at only 13 and a half, 14 minutes of the game, but I do feel pretty confident the amount of gold that 100 Thieves has over no team currently, and the fact that their composition is focused towards, if we can get to the late game, we're going to be on top of things. They've forced the late game early by just getting so many kills. There's been 1 or 2 shutdowns, sure, that no team has gotten, but unless 100 Thieves literally throw this game away, I really don't see much of an opportunity or a chance for no team to take this back. Now, I don't know, Beatdown, if you have a situation or an opportunity where you kind of see them finding some recoverability here.
It'll be hard. I mean, the fact that they've added objective bounties this season is going to be a big thing to look for, to see if they're going to be able to pick that up on the side of no team. But I talked about it in draft. This comp is going to be a little hard for them to execute, especially now that they're behind. And I think a lot of credit goes to this. Look, we can talk about all of 100 Thieves Next and how good they've been playing this game. But I think I got to put a lot of highlight onto Insanity in the mid lane. I think if we just talk about that isolated 1v1 early on, I don't recall Fnatic going there even one time. And usually a matchup where early on LeBlanc is usually pretty good at getting the push and allowing her to move around the map until Victor starts getting the itemization going. Fact is, Blaze was getting run down, Jolly, and all that pressure meant that Blaze wasn't able to do what LeBlanc likes to do in this early part of the game. And now, because of that and what it allowed 100 Thieves to do across the rest of the map, we now know it's a Cloud Soul. 100 Thieves Next are halfway to that very same soul. Now, Dombre, he's in trouble.
That's a nice lockdown by Scoop
Oh,
to get
see ya.
right there with the ultimate, but immediately has to flash away, and it's going to be Sniper that finds a kill. Decides to move over to Dashuka. In the meantime, the rest of the team is able to find out Griffin as well, and now it's just a little fight here between Sniper and Dashuka, and what? Oh my goodness, what a shuriken right there. I love you see the double thumbs up. Sniper saying, all right, you know what? You made it. Dragoon saying, oh my goodness, I made it.
Yeah, that is pretty accurate here, but ultimately it's still a very successful fight. You can see it, Dawnbray finding these angles with the Hex Flash, being able to set up these plays. We're going to see it here in this replay just any second now, where he manages to, even though he can't, once we actually get to this point, he misses the initial hook. All he has to do is press his out skill button, just an R onto Scoop, the depth charge. The fact that he is ulted Dawnbray on the turret doesn't really matter. And at this point, it's very easy for Mr. Sniper to do his sniping.
Yeah, and we can see how low Dawnbray did get there. That's a situation Dawnbray's not going to put himself in unless he's confident the team can take people down, even if he does get locked down, right? It was an ultimate that came out of Scooped there. All right, hey, I'll take the Chains of Corruption for nothing in return. Aside from, I mean, Scooped surviving an extra second.
His life. Well, ultimately, yeah, Scooped 0-5 at the moment here. To be fair, a lot of pressure given by Fnatic and the rest of 100 Thieves Next. Soon as Scoop lost his flash in that early game, he was just the focus of so much of their attention. And since then, it's been hard for him to come online. We know he's going on hit virus. You know, it takes until 2 to 3 items for him to really have the impact that he's probably looking for. Oh, okay, he gets out.
There it is. Out comes the second Rift Herald of the game. 16 and a half minutes less than. So very quickly, 100 Thieves Next has been focusing and moving down these objectives. And while no team was able to pick up that first tower, you had Dragoon getting several plates off of that. They got 2 charges off of Shelly, but now we can see that it is 4 towers. 100 Thieves Next absolutely could have gotten this next one. They decided, hey, you know what? Let's go back. We have a ton of gold in our pockets, and whatever we lose here, whatever no team can gain is something that we're willing to give up.
We're going to see what happened here in this replay, where they do manage to dive Victor. Pretty easy to take him down, despite the well-placed gravity field. It doesn't end up doing much. And being able to get that shit down, that is certainly something to be happy about, Jolly. Hopefully, it's the start of something for no team to be able to try and catch themselves back up to this game. But at the moment, we're looking at 6K. Ray isn't going to walk into some unknown territory, but ultimately, no team. They need to hope for stuff like that to happen. See if they can catch people out, especially when no objectives are on the board. That's the big thing, because before this Baron comes up at 20 minutes, no team do have a bit of an opportunity to try and make these overload plays in a particular lane with little risk. And maybe that's how they manage to narrow this goal lead just a little bit, reach some of those spikes that they're looking for. Worth noting, Blaze, once he gets the Ludens, will still be able to, has a good shot at blowing up people like Array. I wouldn't say easily, but the opportunity will be there.
It will be there, as long as, you don't have Dawnbray immediately in the wings. That's the big concern, because the second Dawnbray gets the lockdown with how well 100 Thieves Next have been, working in a cohesive manner, sticking together, allowing Sniper to potentially be caught out individually. And as we say that here, Insanity is going to find 2, gets ignited, and makes it out alive. This is one of those players that, hey, you know what? You say, you might go down, but you also might stay alive and take 2 with them.
That's an insane thing, too, especially after the last 2v1 he ended up falling to. He said, okay, that's how it is? Bring as many as you want. I got it. Done and dusted. And he manages to live at the cost of his splash. Now, though, turret after turret is being lost. 100 Thieves are up 4 turrets to no team. And that's a nice thing, at least, because there are some turrets they can easily be able to take if they can get these waves pushed out. And what that'll mean is, again, objective bounties on top of the fact that it's just standing gold on the map. No team could grab for themselves here. Man, it's, Jolly, I won't lie to you. It's not looking good. And I'm usually the positive one.
Right, hey, you know what? I tried to be positive here by saying, all right, no team, you got this.
Yeah.
But now, we are now looking at 8.5K gold at almost 19 minutes? That is massive. Again, we were talking about 4K at 10 minutes, which, people think, oh, that's not that big of a deal. At 10 minutes, that is insane. And looking at the kills, you never want to say, oh, well, that's clearly the obvious reason. But all you have to do is look up and see 4 to 18, 6 towers to 2 towers, both of the dragons, and then one of the 2 Rift Heralds all going over to 100 Thieves. And it's very obvious as to why they feel comfortable going into situations where they might be 2v1, 3v1. We can see one of those right here is Blitzing engaged on all its takes his second, and Griffin is going to be the next one here. Sure, you got Jashuka in the wings, but how much can you offer when you are just a low little Karma sitting at 2-2-1? Sniper is now on the run. That Cloud Soul coming into effect here on the stage. Jashuka going to flash over the wall. Out comes the Shuriken in the opposite direction. Now can Sniper get out of this one? The needlework comes through, but it's going to be a shutdown, and finally, Scoop gets the first kill of his for the game.
Can he walk away, though, is the question. The answer will be yes, and that is a nice pickup. 850 gold in favor of the AD carry for No Team. Problem is, they lost a lot of people for that shutdown. Jolly, Wonder Thieves Next are starting the Baron, and I mean, why not? You're so strong, you have numbers, and your Baron take has got to be something absurd.
Oh, yeah. Even with Sniper being, you know, that really, really bursty one that we're looking at. I guess, of course, there's a ton of bursts coming out of this team, but this is what's hard to get looking at. Even with him being down, we can see just how quickly I couldn't even finish my sentence. Maybe that was the point. Before 100 Thieves Next picks it up. So 4 members do have that buff. Griffin is going to be the target as there is an engagement. It's a flash away here by Fnatic, who might end up going down, and it will. The Ignite, thanks to Dragoon, will pick up the one. Array takes down Scoop. In the meantime, Blaze, Griffin are very low and have to get out of this one. Sniper thinks they found Blaze. Luckily for Blaze just here. It is going to be a nice little route onto Sniper, meaning 2 members make it out alive from No Team, but 100 Thieves Next take everything and more.
Everything meaning the Baron. We are going to see a replay now of the last couple of seconds of what went down here. And you can see it, like the fact that they are just melting this Baron so very quickly. It's why that call makes a lot of sense. And No Team, they're trying to do what they can to interfere. Problem is, they just don't have the time, Jolly. They don't have the ability to get there and actually have the impact. And now they want to see if they can make a big play here. They want to stop these backs at the very least, but they have Blaze TP. And problem is, the damage on the Griffin is just too strong. They are too fed on the side of 100 Thieves. Even though you get that shutdown, ultimately, again, much like before, it always costs you so much because of how much you have to invest on that one person, while the rest of 100 Thieves Next. Look at these HP bars. They're all pretty full. They're doing a lot of damage. Dragoon pops like a balloon.
Yeah, and actually, you know, I do have to say, I can't even say what I want to say. The needlework is coming out, not Rogues. Griffin and Dragoon actually doing a great job. It's going to be Insanity who goes down here. Griffin is the next one. Array picking up that kill. Now, Fnatic is taking a lot of the damage, but another root on a Fnatic means there's a possibility for more damage. It is Ignite. Will it be enough to take down? Just barely. No, and it's a triple kill for Array to save the lad.
Oh man, Baron buff. We're looking 30 seconds on a lot of people in No Team. They could potentially try and close this one out if they want to. At the very least, inhibitors will fall on the side of No Team, and that will mean a lot of gold XP if they can hold on. That's going to be the big question, Jolly, if. But it's looking like 100 Thieves Next are not going to take any risks here. They're gonna be plenty happy to take that top inhibitor. Top lane will be pushing automatically for the next 5 minutes. And that means when this Dragon Soul comes up, that's something No Team will answer, and 100 Thieves Next should have an easy time picking up the soul.
Yeah, and hopefully for No Team, they won't also have an easy time picking up No Team because, you know, you're in the situation, it is just a Cloud Soul, but it is yet another resource that 100 Thieves is padding their pockets with. And so it is very helpful for them as a team, especially when they're trying to continue these initiations on. It's going to be Sniper that's jumped on here. Griffin starting that one out. Blaze trying to get as much burst damage down, but actually missing the chains right there. Now is on the run himself. Takes a big chunk from Insanity on the top side. It looks like we got a nice root and Array. Before I even get the opportunity to see that it's Jashuka up there, just melts that player. And now it is just Dragoon, not even waiting the minute left for this dragon to come up. They say, hey, you know what? We've still the pressure that we need. We can end the game right here, right now.
They have a wave. Timers are long on No Team. Long enough for this to close out here. 100 Thieves, a dominating first game here for a team we have such high expectations for.
Oh, yes, and they are absolutely going to clean this one. Incredibly well done. You know what I gotta say here in this game number 1 is 100 Thieves takes it pretty definitively in just 24 minutes. I do have to say that there were some really, really good plays coming out of No Team, right? I think in particular, I got to point out how well Dragoon has done in some of these initiations, actually getting into the back. We saw the first takedown onto, or I think it was the second overall takedown onto Insanity in that fight right after the Baron was taken. And it was thanks to, Dragoon following up off of Griffin's attempted play. Griffin tried to get out of there. There was a pillar placed in front of him. He said, okay, I can't. I'll go in. I'll crescent guard. I'll do what I can. And they made target acquisition there. And so I think that's still good from No Team. My biggest problem with this last game that we just saw was really the composition and the composition that they were facing against 100 Thieves. I want to see a little more survivability. I really liked the Gwen. I would have actually preferred to see somebody like the Viego, maybe somebody a little bit tankier as well in the bottom lane for that support. If Dombray's going to get something like the Nautilus, hey, you know what? You have an opportunity to do something like a Thresh. You have an opportunity to go a little bit tankier. If you really want to go heavy initiation, you can still go with the Leona. She's still very viable for your team to either engage or disengage. So I think a little bit of an adjustment in this comp, but keeping the mentality of, hey, you know what, still making plays where plays were necessary, even though No Team kind of knew going into things like the Baron fight, we're probably not going to win this, but if we can take something, it's still a bit of a W, right?
Right, and I mean, I think I agree with you about the draft being kind of, I think, what made it very difficult for No Team to play this game. Because the thing is, with Enchanters coming up, or coming back up in the meta at the moment here, the way I always see things in draft is that you still need, I like it when teams have a very solid, consistent way to start off team fights. And that's why I said this comp was hard to execute. By no means was it unwinnable. There were ways that No Team, and they had win cons. There were ways they could win this game. The problem is they were so hard to execute because of really good laning as well from 100 Thieves Next side. They didn't get to do what they wanted to do, and they didn't really have any win cons that they could fall back on. And I think that ultimately was their downfall, just because it made it that much easier for 100 Thieves Next to go for the snowball here.
Yeah. And it's a situation too where, hey, it's the best of 3, right? They have an opportunity now to kind of clean things up. They get the chance to pick their side. It's usually higher seed and 100 Thieves having picked the side to start things off in red for the counter picks. And now it might be No Team's turn to say, hey, all right, you make your first picks. We get a little bit more of an opportunity to counter that. But in the meantime, we are going to take a very quick break here in between games 1 and 2. This is our first best of 3 between 100 Thieves X and No Team. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with some more Proving Grounds close qualifiers. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Of course, we are in between games 1 and 2 right now with 100 Thieves Next, and of course, no team. And my bold prediction is so far not really working out. But you know what? Let's we can talk about 100 Thieves and what they did right all day. All right, beat down. So let's kind of talk about no team. Maybe what we saw we liked, as my camera freaks out again. What we saw we liked, and then possibly what we would like to see that we know that they have had success with in the past, that they execute really well, or maybe some adjustments to their composition.
So I think what I'm going to expect from no teams, or what is kind of a change up in the draft. What I want to see from them is, again, more reliable engages. I think just easier to execute front to back comps, especially in situations like these. Are a lot of teams bread and butter, this early into the season. And I mean, if we just talk about the draft like as a whole and how things went on, because of the fact that they ended up holding off on the AD carry pick until the second round, where they because of how much priority they put on the karma, it ended up kind of hurting them just a little bit with how the 80 carry pool for scoops ended up getting pinched out. I think we saw 4 or 5 80 carry bans, and then at that point you're and then you end up seeing the I mean, if we talk about Varus, he's honestly like a step under a lot of the very common, maybe 2 depending on who you ask, compared to other 80 carries like Jhin, Jinx, Caitlyn, etc. So I think that also hurt them, and just the fact that they didn't have an easy way to play this game, it was really difficult. So I think going into this next one, probably just a more cohesive team composition focused on team fighting. You can still run no team the way they like to play, having Griffin on these enabler junglers. You can still put him back on Xin. Maybe he gets Viego or Lee Sin or something along those lines too. And you can still play this early aggressive style. You just need something to kind of fall back on in the later parts of the game.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that, we had that with Blaze being a big part of this, and we had that really early initiation in by Blaze to just get, instantly melted by Insanity before Griffin could even be there. Knowing that Griffin likes to play these big initiators, I would like to see a little bit more of that initiation follow-up, right? We know that Griffin is going to be playing this style of champion and this style of jungle. So to kind of facilitate that a little bit more, I liked the Gwen, one of those champions where if you do fall behind, you have recoverability. It adds a little bit of a secondary win con, but I would like to see not really just a singular win con, that if it kind of goes out the window, like we saw really with the LeBlanc here, because the expectation is very well in this matchup, right? Even with the karma, it's one of those where you're going to need a lot of focus from your jungle. So I liked parts of this for sure. I can see kind of what they were going for, but you're absolutely right, Beatdown. In terms of the cohesion, it's not quite there. It's kind of like there are different ideas kind of going across the map, and it's good to have multiple win cons, but the idea is more that you have one win con. It's like plan A, plan B, plan C, right? You do prioritize these win conditions and what you actually want to excel at early on. And I don't think there was really, we barely saw any pressure for Blaze. We saw that one attempt, but it was Blaze going in way too hard, Insanity melting Blaze. Griffin didn't even get the chance to be there, ended up just cleaning up a little bit of the over minions and then the cannon. So I would also like to see Griffin with a little bit of an earlier initiation. Somebody like Trundle and Fnatic in general, but Trundle in particular has this ability to say, I'm okay with giving up a bunch of experience here because I am so good at facilitating a game with the pillar, really in particular. It's got such a long range. It provides so much of a disruption and that little bit of crowd control enough for the rest of the team to move in. I would like to see this player kind of go back and play in the style of Hecarim, maybe even without having the Hecarim in the early parts.
Right. I think there are still other ways that they can, like I was saying, no team can play that style that they very much want to. I think you're going to have to deny at least some power picks away from the side of 100 Thieves Next. Like I think the Victor probably is something you cannot go for. I think Vex, who didn't actually end up being banned or picked in that draft, is definitely an option because it's some
second phase.
Oh, because she was banned, because that's something Blaze definitely
it was
has
no
put it
team
on. Yeah,
that banned it though. So
because I think at that point they already had what they wanted solidified here, but we'll see how things shake up in this next round overall. I think being able to get scooped and one of the better 80 carries early on will probably be an important one too, just considering this bot lane matchup from what we expected going into this series and also after what we saw into game one. Maybe if he can manage to get himself something like the Ezreal, which is definitely a safer one, it will be a lot harder to just bully him the way Fnatic and the rest of 100 Thieves Next did in game one.
Yeah, and if that's a situation where they're banning out 4 ADCs because they recognize how far back that can put a team, take care of it early on, right? Just nip that one in the bud. Don't even make it so you are narrowed down to like literally 3 ADCs left that are even somewhat viable. And then I think the biggest part was we both were really surprised when it was the Varus that was locked in after the Misfortune was hovered, after the Ashe was hovered. And it was the Varus lock-in. So 100 Thieves is going to start the same way. They're saying, okay, hey, you know what? That bottom lane is really what helps pressure us forward. Because I do have to say, Jashuka played very, very well, right? The Karma was actually done very well. I think that the player was 2-2-3 by the time they actually ended up going like negative in the game. So a lot of potential for, as long as you get just a better ADC currently in the meta, somebody who's able to provide more, like the Jhin, yourself up for a lot more of an opportunity to find success in that bottom lane. And I love it. They're going to lock in the Nautilus on top of for Jashuka. And this can be a pretty nasty combination.
There's a lot of lockdown potential here, not with just Nautilus's whole kit, but of course that follow-up with the Deadly Flourish. A very aggressive bot lane, and you also kind of... It's twofold here. You get it for yourself, you get a really aggressive bot lane that you can fight with early, and you also take away that Nautilus from Dawnbreak because the dude was lights out in game 1. Thresh is still on the table, however. Instead, they're going to go for the Leona. Dawnbreak, again, he's just going to be looking for these angles to get in there, Jolly, because that's what he's been doing so well for this roster so far since he started subbing for Sword, who's playing on 100 Thieves Academy.
I do really like this. I like the, obviously I like the Viego. I mentioned that I would have liked to see the Viego in the last game. That was, of course, for no team, but they are going to see the Viego and say, hey, you know what, we got the Trundle, and I really, really do hope. I think Trundle is probably top 1 or 2 in terms of being able to provide sufficient ganks and being capable of, like I said just earlier, of kind of abandoning the jungle in the early parts of the game and saying, hey, this is recoverable, right? I can spend as much time as I want in the jungle later on as long as I get the ball rolling in favor of the rest, at least the important parts of the team. And I think focusing on some of these win conditions, already we see it right here, that, this bottom lane is definitely one of them. If they can get the, if they can get scooped here with a lot of damage on top of the range that you have to offer with the Jhin, as well as the roaming potential and the initiation with Jashuka here for the Nautilus, already just with 3 picks locked in, I'm so comfortable and confident in the selections that have been made here. And now it's to turn towards the top side bans, right? We're looking at Aurelia and a Kali, and no team does not want to see that again for Sniper. And then we've got the Darius as well in 100 Thieves as they make their final decision in the second ban phase.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting for me. A lot of strong mid lane picks are up and available here. I'm thinking of the Victor right away over for Blaze on that 4, and then you give Dragoon that top lane counter pick because after the Akali ban and how much Sniper was able to do in this game, you want to just put your top laner in the best position possible here, and that's why the Victor actually ends up being banned away. That's pretty solid from 100 Next, but I think Vex being available is something that could be picked up. Blaze, he plays it. He's very competent on this pick, and it fits his aggressive playstyle where he can facilitate the rest of his team, especially Griffin. So I also think it's a nice combination with Jhin. You have a lot of this long-range engage when you think about the Deadly Flourish, Curtain Call, of course the Shadow Surge. I think Syndra is also a fine option. Again, another champion Blaze definitely is able to put a lot of work in, and I think overall, I like the direction of this draft a lot better from no team.
Absolutely. I do think I would have liked the Vex with this composition a little bit better. It does give it the additional range, right? The last thing that you really want is for 100 Thieves, especially having a Leona locked in and a Viego locked in, to get the initiation that they're looking for in one of these fights. And if that is locked in, okay, I was going to say it's not quite as much damage as maybe you would want right now, but it is going to be a Graves, and this is one of those picks where we've seen Graves actually in the top lane multiple times. I think Barrick is one that we saw day number 1 bring it through and do a very good job with that as well. Oh my goodness, they love to do this to me. They love to do this as long as they don't have a team out. I'm a lot more okay with the hovers that these teams like.
Don't worry about the hover. Don't worry about the hovers.
Right. It is the Orianna that's going to be locked in opposition of the Syndra there, and that's going to kind of facilitate this potential for initiation for the Leona. For Fnatic with this Viego to actually heavily go in. And would you look at that, we've got an Akshan.
That's an interesting pick. Really quickly, I want to talk about the Orianna. I really like that one, even though it's not the greatest matchup matchup into Syndra, ultimately, it is a little more setup on top of what Donbury's going with here in the Leona. You have a good few people who can deliver that ball for the Shockwave, a lot of playmaking potential with this ability, especially because of how you see no team's composition is going to try and play into them, and that's something they could use to kind of turn the tides of some of these team fights. But I think overall, no team, the Akshan in the top lane is certainly an interesting one. We have ranged in the bot lane, and it's interesting with these team fights as well because the Akshan passive, a very controversial topic in the League of Legends community, could come in pretty clutch with how some of these fights are going to go there for Team No Team. And the thing that's nice too is because, I mean, this is what I was hoping for. This is a lot simpler. This front to back. Jashuka, he's going to be looking for people. Or in fact, Griffin's going to be doing the same with this Trundle, and with how aggressive that they like to play, I think this suits them a lot better.
Yes, exactly. And I want to see kind of that revert back to what I'm used to for Griffin, because Griffin, I know, is this really, really aggressive player who wants to start fights early, right? Who finds opportunities to saying, okay, I've cleared out just, the first half of my jungle. Is there a chance for me to actually make a play here? And Trundle is the champion at the top of my list for that, at least in the current meta and at the moment, because that early crowd control really does provide so dang much. And then we're able to, use the frozen domain to get yourself in there to supply a little bit more damage on top of it. It's very helpful. But I'm mostly excited, I think, for No Team. I mean, I'm really excited, obviously, this opposition. Very much. Even if you just hopped in right now, you can tell that both of us are so much happier in what we see. We actually see cohesion. We see multiple ways that they can go about in this game. It's not their win condition. That if it falls shooters, they're just, it's kind of inevitable loss. The roaming potential that we're going to be seeing from Dragoon and Jashuka is going to be big on this one. So if same kind of situation with 100 Thieves in the last one, if No Team find themselves an early lead, they have the opportunity to make these really, really early roams, and that is going to be something that can really get the ball rolling, get into a snowball, right? Make it into the biggest snowball ever.
That's right. Even what Nunu would be proud of.
Yes.
So 100 Thieves Next, I think overall, I still think, I do like what they're going to be able to do in the earlier parts of the game. And when you talk about support roams, of course, the situation is still the same for Donbury, even though now he's on the Leona. His ability to impact the map, while he's been playing for this team has been very, very good, and something I'm looking forward to seeing again for how some of these team fights are going to start off, with how he's able to find a lot of these these alternate angles, ones that maybe enemies aren't necessarily expecting here. So No Team, even though I think they have a much better draft this time around, I still think, as you say, they do need to worry about how they're going to be playing things early on. And I think with this Trundle in hand, and then when you compare, Viego isn't going to be able to do as much in the earlier parts of the game. The keys this time the keys to this early game are certainly in the hands of No Team. They just have to start the car.
Right, they really do, yeah. And hopefully, they're all buckled up, right, ready to go, because going into this, it is match point, right, for 100 Thieves. This is a best of 300 Thieves. Took the first one, and it was only 24 minutes. So we know that these teams aren't tired. It was a quick game, right?
True.
A lot quicker than we were really expecting, and I think it did get to the point where No Team was like, all right, you know what? We know that this is likely a loss, but it's still commendable in the fact that they say, hey, this is a potential initiation, right? The fight at the Baron, they probably knew it wasn't going to go their way, but it was a worthwhile attempt, because they find these little openings, and the fact that they're so far behind and are still capable of finding cheeks in the armor, finding some accessibility or vulnerability really to access 100 Thieves and to find some sort of advantage, they were still working at it. And that's a good sign to me for the mental of a team, and saying, hey, we didn't come in here, expectation of losing really, because they're still trying their best to do something about it, but they kind of know when to concede, and clearly have recognized maybe where some of the flaws were. And I do think a lot of it was the lack of frontline, which is something that we touched on before this game started, or before this these champions were locked in. And so we've got a lot more frontline. You got a Trundle, you got a Nautilus. That is more than what I wanted as we head into game number 2 here. Of course, Proving Grounds close qualifiers. Day number 3, we have No Team going into 100 Thieves X, and it is match point for 100 Thieves. So it's up to No Team now to stay in this one and bring things out to a game number 3.
That's right, Jolly. This is match point. A big deal here for both of these teams, playing for auto qualification to the playoffs here. Loser will have to play one more match against the winner of our second match here in this stream tonight to be able to get their second chance back into playoff contention here. No team, if they want to get it and secure that here and now, Jolly, they're going to have to pull something out this game. They are going to have to make it happen.
Well, they certainly seem more poised to do so in this matchup, given the fact that they have some really good early opportunity. Even if we see a couple mistakes like we saw in the past, even if we see maybe Blaze going a little too hard when Griffin's not quite there, there's a lot more recoverability, a lot more of an opportunity for them to kind of make some plays off of the back foot and find themselves advantages still. Here next, of course, hey, you know how 100 Thieves gets once they've tasted blood, right? They don't want it to stop. They want everything to go in their favor. So they're going to try to do everything to stop no team from not only getting ahead, but trying to find a lead of their own.
At the moment, it's looking like neither jungler is interested in hiding where they will be starting out. They're both going to get leashes, and we are going to have the idea from both sides on where they're going to be here, and that is important. And it is a good thing for Fnatic that they're starting on opposite sides of the map. But overall, Viego into Trundle doesn't play too well in the 1v1, and I mean in the early levels, Viego doesn't play that well into anybody, Jolly. So you're really hoping you don't run into Griffin at this point, because that is a fight he will certainly win.
Yes, that is definitely something he's going to look for too. And hopefully it is something that he's looking for, actually, just for no team to find some success in this matchup. You know, they come into this kind of knowing it is going to be an uphill battle, right? It is a climb, but it's not some uninsurmountable summit, right? It is still just a hill at the starts of these matches, even having the idea that this is a top seed team for sure. And Heart of Thieves Next. And with young players, you were talking about adaptability and growth. This is something we see literally during the games, right?
And then we switched over to the top lane, but I think the bottom lane is something I'm most interested in this game from No Team. Scooped, we talked about it. I don't think he had a good opportunity to shine just because of what ended up happening with the pick and how much attention he got on the bottom side of the map from the enemy. So this time around, now he's got a sort of aggressive bot lane where a play can be made. Let's hold that thought. Speaking of plays, Sniper might be in trouble. Yep. Good pillar. Oh, they got him.
Flash of fall, and there it is. They get the kill. Oh no, nobody could hear me apparently for a moment there. That's unfortunate. That was a fantastic play right there. Sure, Fnatic was in the wings, but too little, too late. And Cyber had just used the teleport as well.
Well, that's a risky play here from No Team. You have Blaze move from the mid lane to help his jungler make this play happen. Put some early pressure onto Sniper, one of the, highlight players from the last game, one of the highlight players for this team. And in doing so, it does cause Blaze to lose a good chunk of a wave, maybe a wave and a half in the mid lane. If that didn't work, that would be really brutal here. But we are going to see how the replay ends up playing out here. And there it is. At this point, he recalls, he TPs back to lane, and I think that's the big deal about this thing too for this play. Sniper TP'd, and then he immediately ends up getting pressured. He does lose a lot of that wave because he's not able to TP back, and you do end up picking up a first kill. This is the early aggression I wanted to see from No Team.
And this is where you make that decision too, right? Sniper obviously has eyes on Blaze and Griffin at this point and decided to stay near the tower. That recognizes, okay, they are going to go in, trying to buy some time for Fnatic to engage here, but there was just no opportunity. It was a beautiful scat of the week that really impressed me there from Blaze that you gotta commend.
Wow, we almost saw a fight break out here on the bottom side of the map. I think Hooray and Donbray do want to recall. Ultimately, though, you can see a bit of an EXP lead showing in the mid lane. Oh, wait a second.
There it is. Another fight breaks out. It's going to be the flash forward. Jashuka ends up getting a little bit of a heal there, but the flash forward by Donbray followed by Array immediately means it's going to be another kill here for Array.
Oh man, there it is. It's going to be 1-0 at 5 minutes here. Really nice play from Donbray to be able to find that angle. Now Scooped and Jashuka are going to be feeling a lot of the pressure as a result of it. You can see Griffin, again, giving Sniper a bit of what I like to call the Scoop treatment. I just coined that from last game, as he's spending a lot of time in the top lane.
Yeah, that's what you need to have happen, though, right? Like, I think the being on the top side of the map has been very, very normal for the current meta. You've got 2 range champions here, so you know, generally don't have as much of an opportunity in terms of their positioning because they're standing a little bit farther back trying to look for their own range. But Sniper has very little of that compared to Dragoon. So there's constantly going to be this kind of pressure coming through. And it's actually Dragoon going into a fight where Fnatic is right there in the wings. Dragoon flashes forward, but is not going to be able to make it out of that one alive. And I'm not quite sure what the thought was behind that play.
I mean, he didn't know that Fnatic was nearby, so I think that's just a good play from Fnatic to show up on this top side. Maybe expecting Griffin was going to show up, maybe expecting Dragoon has that kill pressure. Either way, right place, right time from 100 Thieves Next jungler. And although there is no Rift Herald to play for, I think an early kill going into Sniper's favor is always beneficial, especially with how much CS he's managed to lose early on because of that pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely helps. Of course, has the teleport available, right? We just saw that Sniper has to take the long walk up for the next little bit. Of course, it's more than halfway off cooldown. But it gives the opportunity. We already see no team doing what I want to see coming out of Griffin and specifically Trundle. These little invades. You're more than capable of doing them because you have the ability to push back a couple of members. Not only that, but you have the ability to throw down Frozen Domain, get yourself a little bit more speed, a little bit more disengaged. And so that's what I like from a lot of these you know, highly contentious champions, whether they're banned or picked, is that they have a lot of ability to both engage and disengage. You can see right there, he's going to use both within a minute.
That's right. Now, because there wasn't really an opening to go for the Dragon, no team do have the option to go for it if they want to. Is bot lane looking like it's going to be shoved in. But we're going to have to see. Fnatic might, if he does end up getting level 6 off of this camp, I think there's a real chance for 100 Thieves Next to go for this fight. But I think at the moment, everyone's just going to go back to farming. We're going to have the blue buffs given over to Blaze so that he can continue pressuring and try to force priority in the mid lane here.
Now we see Fnatic once again pop up. Fnatic doesn't care about his jungle. He doesn't care that he's behind. He cares about the kills. But look, Griffin
nice.
is in the wings. It's going to be Shuka who is the target here. Okay, we're taking a lot of damage, but not that much. It's going to be Ray that picks up the kill. Another lockdown for Griffin who's going to be followed up immediately by the root. So much crowd control. It's a double kill. Give it over to the one player that you really don't want to pick up a double kill, being a Ray.
That's right, and also Fnatic is able to pick up all these resets, Jolly, and he's in a very, very good position here, especially taking supports as Viego. Jolly, it feels so very good, and we're going to see the replay come through. This is good from Griffin to show up because they were looking for an opening to start this play. The problem is, before anything could really get done in terms of DPS, Jishuka lost most of his life as it is, and again, you give Viego the resets, you know how it goes. We've all played solo queue.
It's true. And this, I mean, Shuka is kind of the one that you're hoping, all right, hey, I'm in here, I'm taking the damage, deal what you can. But the problem on top of it, too, is that you had Scoops and Griffin, they weren't really quite in a position, and the target acquisition wasn't quite there, right? You had some damage kind of going across multiple members, but the real acquisition should have been get as close to Scooped as possible, and I think that's what Shuka was doing. And I think maybe a little bit more communication might have helped no team out there, but this is what you expect from 100 Thieves Next, right? It's non-stop aggression, particularly from Fnatic. I know you were talking about how it's a lot harder for Fnatic to, you know, make some of the early engagements. Of course, we're now at 9 minutes, but if there is a player who is going to say, I don't care what the champion's capable of doing early. I know what I am capable of doing early. It's going to be Fnatic who makes those early moves.
That's fair, and Fnatic, definitely that player who is good at facilitating the rest of his team. It's no surprise he's able to find work, especially pre-6, and especially such a powerful bot lane in Array and Dawnbrain, because they don't quite have that pressure on the top side. Sniper has been kind of been going through it this game. Actually, you're going to hold that thought. They want to fight Jolly.
Yes, they do. Griffin is taking quite a bit of damage. Flashes out of the solar flare, but Fnatic is on the backside, dealing a lot. And Dragoon is at least going to pick up the one kill in response. It is now a 3v3, and Griffin has been taking most of the aggro. A beautiful shockwave coming out here, and Array is now in the wings, going to be able to pick up late. Should be able to pick up Griffin, no problem. And now it's Jishuka, who has to flash over the wall. Out come the long shots. It's going to be a nice little hook away, and a blast cone over the wall. I mean, Jishuka stays alive, but 2 more kills for Array. Woo-wee! This player, this champion is going to be beefy.
5-0 already at the 10-minute mark. Array once again in the position to be the carry for 100 Thieves Next. And that's the thing with this roster too. Even though a lot of pressure and attention is being put onto Sniper in the top lane, as he is a very talented player and skilled in his own right, ultimately, 100 Thieves Next, they can just mix it up, Jolly. They can play through whoever they need to, and with how they drafted this one out, they had so many options.
And I think there was a really quick recognition, too, by Fnatic that, hey, okay, Griffin is trying to get out Sniper, right? They had the successful first blood, where Griffin picked that up. But they weren't really able to follow that up too much in dealing a bunch of additional damage to Sniper, right? He started playing a lot more safely. He started to have Fnatic actually come up, and as soon as there was a responding kill onto Dragoon that evened things out, Sniper's like, yeah, I'm fine. You're good, Fnatic. Go spend time in the bottom lane. Go spend time in the mid lane. This is a player, as young as he is, has confidence in himself and has the confidence of his team on top of it.
Now, I love this. Dawnbray and Fnatic linking up, moving around, trying to make plays. Blaze does have flash. He's going to have to use it. Oh, my God. Still connects.
That's so much damage. It's not an opportunity to get out of that one. This is the ultimate coming up, and Array flashes away. Jashuka now goes in. Out comes the curtain call. It should be a lot of damage, but the final shot doesn't even connect, let alone deal enough damage to ensure a kill.
Yeah, and I mean, the red gun ultimate does give you a lot of heal when it lands. Really nicely played by Array, and now Fnatic looking to see what he can get done. Oh, wow, he almost gets the kill. Scratch that. He's going to be able to get the kill and the reset. Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, and well, no problem. I mean, at this point, things have relaxed again, and you're just getting so many more kills in the pockets of 100 Thieves Next. You can see it there, like 4,000 gold ahead at this point here. Again, leads pretty much everywhere except the top lane. And when you think about the damage, when you think about how well 100 Thieves Next are going to do into the late game, especially with Array being as fed as he is, no team, they're going to have to make some plays happen very, very soon if they want to find their way back in. The thing is, I like that Blaze was there early on, making the roam play, helping set up the rest of his team, but it felt like since that play around the first few minutes, hasn't been able to be repeated.
Yeah, it was a good one, but it was very quickly recognized by 100 Thieves Next. They're like, oh, that's how you want to play? Well, we can play dirt. We can do that as the root on a Griffin, followed up by the Soldier player. Dawnbray, the target here. Out comes the shockwave. That does a lot of damage. Griffin will be the next target. Fnatic going in.
You're kidding.
No way. Able to get the hook after picking up the soul of the Nautilus right there. Going to follow it up, trying to get onto Scoops. It's a lot of damage, but Dragoon does manage, thanks to the ultimate there, to be able to pick up the kill. That was actually beautifully done from this top laner of no team.
It was right, really nicely picked up from Dragoon. Being able to get something here, I think, is a big deal. I mean, he's the one with the most kills on the team so far, and it shows in the itemization. He's the only one on his team that has a mythic item at the moment, but you look across at 100 Thieves Next, 3 out of the 5 members have theirs good to go. Even Sniper, Jolly, who's been the victim of a lot of pressure in the earlier parts of the game here. Oh my God, now look at him. I'm pretty sure that's just a kill, isn't it?
Oh, straight up, he's going to flash for it. He's going to make it flashy. Maybe not necessary, but definitely makes it happen. And that was actually beautifully done. Dawnbray's the cattle dog right there. Says, I'll make sure they don't go anywhere. You take your time and sanity. Wait for that Q to come back up. And, I mean, when you're sitting at 1 health, there's nothing you can do about that.
Oh, man. And unfortunately, Griffin felt there was nothing he could do with that Rift Herald. Had to just drop it because it was going to expire. And it just ends up being gold. Doesn't get to charge. Now Insanity is getting to put damage into this turret. 100 Thieves Next, winning across the map as always, and even Sniper is going ahead and stealing some of Griffin's camps. Nothing he can do about it, Jolly.
Yeah, nothing you can do. And you got the dragon as well, second dragon of the game. Of course, every single dragon so far in this series has been picked up by 100 Thieves Next, and they are 6k gold up. This is not nearly as bad, though, as we saw in that last game. It's going to be the Hex Flash over the wall by Dawnbray, and you can't get out of that one now with all the crowd control. We'll have to see if Array did actually pick that one up. No, wait, yes, it was Array that picked that one up. A previous kill picked up there by Dawnbray, and now this Rift is kind of just being run by 100 Thieves.
All right, Jolly. I'm going to do something that I've been a little scared to do, but I'm going to do it. I would very much like production to show us the gold graph, if possible, or the gold numbers. I just want to, oh God, Array got all that local gold. I am scared. And you know what? The fact that it hasn't come up, it's fine. Oh, okay, now they show it.
Yeah, Dawnbray now is in danger. This might be one of the more successful curtain calls that we've saw. It's not going to be the damage from the curtain call that gets it, but Griffin is going to at least pick up the one, of course. 100 Thieves Next says, that's okay. It was Ombre. That's kind of his part of the game. Right?
That's right. He's expendable. And you saw the graph, everybody. It speaks for itself. An insane climb for 100 Thieves Next. Just... My God, Jolly, this is tough. 7K again. We find ourselves in a very similar situation where 100 Thieves Next are well on track to another sub 25-minute game and just punching their ticket to the playoffs immediately. No need to play another game. No need to worry about anything until later next week.
Yup. It was a good attempt to start things out by No Team. They picked up the first blood, right? We had that early roam coming out of Griffin, but it was pretty mirrored by Fnatic and showing up and actually getting a lot of pressure here for, of course, no surprise, Array. And Array, I talked about Array a lot at the beginning. There's a reason. This is part of the reason as the Solar Flare comes out. They're going to follow it up here with the Shockwave. It's the Ignite that should be the last tick of damage. No, Griffin barely stays alive here. So many pop-ups and Array finally gets shut down. Jishuka will be taken down as well as Fnatic, who goes in very hard, including the Soul here on True Dragoon. Should be able to do enough damage here. That leaves just 2 members in place and Scooped on the run. And it is going to be a nice little scat of the week there to prevent Dawnbray from connecting and continuing that fight.
Okay, well, that is a pretty big deal that Blaze ends up getting the shutdown. That is a lot of gold into the Syndra's pocket. Nice way to really catch things up here. And you can see it in the replay. They get very aggressive, layering their CC really well. And somehow Griffin does live with 13 HP. The thing to look for is Blaze. A really nice scatter of the week. Makes it easy to pick up this shutdown. And basically makes it so that this is probably the best fight no team, have seen all series long. And even then, Jolly, it's still lopsided.
Yeah. And not just lopsided, but I mean, it was visually lopsided too, right? A little bit of a split off there in Dragoon, who is certainly one of the players who deal the most damage, who can reposition himself incredibly well with the heroic swing, who has the capacity to, utilize that. You were talking even just about the passive, right? And then trying to use comeuppance towards the end of things. We saw a really solid kill coming from this player, but hey, you separate him out from the rest of the team. And if that's a big part of your damage, it allows 100 Thieves Next to focus who they want to focus. And you know that even though there's rarely miscommunication within this team, in that instance, there's no way that they can miscommunicate who their target is.
Now, Griffin will be spotted out on the blue trinket that came from the sniper, so he won't be fooled and get caught out by this play in the bottom side. But you get a turret. Considering it's your first turret of the game, it does mean you can catch up somewhat in gold in that way. You're picking up some of these objective bounties as well. Problem is, 100 Thieves Next, they have the Rift Herald. They're going to be taking more turrets in their favor, and they're going to be able to just continue snowballing this game here. Shelly probably doesn't get to charge the tier 3, but ultimately damage is done. Speaking of damage,
oh, maybe she will, thanks to that beautiful shockwave coming through. And yeah, you can't focus on Shelly's second charge. Griffin goes down. It's Fnatic once again. The Heartbreaker comes out, and certainly some broken hearts on the side of No Team. There is a fantastic curtain call, but Dawnbray says, hey, I'm support. I do support well. It's going to throw out the Solar Flare in response to prevent the other 2 members here in Dragoon and Jishuka from engaging on the fight, and that means that if Ray gets to re-engage, this should be a very quick cleanup. Your Scoops now just needs to run because there's so much mobility on the Aphelios. They're going to call that a victory, head back home.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking, Scoop. It's not worth it, buddy. Just let him go. Oh. That's, yeah. The white flag is appropriate. That is unfortunate. He's not even able to stop the backs. It feels like No Team just can't take anything here, Jolly. And it's 100 Thieves just taking everything for them there. Their chance at even playing this game, their chance at qualifying for the playoffs after this match.
Yeah, it feels like it feels like, after this match isn't going to be too far out, right? The last game went to 24 minutes. Now that's a quick game. Our usual has been, in the past when I started casting, I would have said average game is 25 to 35 minutes, right? That 10-minute buffer. Recently, games have been much closer to the 30-minute, 40-minute, 10-minute buffer right there. That's not the case with 100 Thieves Next. This is very classic for them. I think they have one of the lower average game times in the Proving Grounds close qualified circuit between these 8 teams right now. And we can see exactly why, even when there's an opportunity for the opposing team to find themselves an advantage, 100 Thieves Next says, well, it's not enough to deal with us.
That's right. 100 Thieves Next, or No Team rather, feels like every play they make, just ends up being countered right away because of time. The time to kill is so long with how far behind No Team are, and it gives 100 Thieves Next time to move up across the map. Happily take part. Oh, we're fighting? All right, yeah, no problem. I'm gonna bring all the homies.
Griffin meant to take that, or was trying to pass it over to Dragoon. I'm not quite sure. With the red buff we're talking about. Maybe it was kind of a panic thing because Dawn Bray had used the vision cone. But yeah, Griffin, I mean, you know, it could be worse, but it is the red buff there taken by Griffin when Dragoon was there assisting with taking down the red buff the entire time. You would think that you want to hand it over to that Akshan on the top.
Maybe. Although we've seen Griffin do a good amount of work, so I think it'll be fine either way.
Oh,
and
yeah,
now Sniper.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse. That's going to be the ultimate there on to Sniper, and now it's just scooped on the run because in comes some teleports. The shockwave means that, oh my goodness, Dragoon is not even able to participate in this fight. Sniper finally gets taken down, and it's going to be Griffin who does so, but that means Insanity is the next target. So much damage coming out of that, Insanity now with the pull. Jishuka has to just run away. It's going to be really tough to do, though, when you have 3 members of 100 Thieves Next on your back, and that is a very clean ace.
Go ahead and start off the Baron as a result. And we're going to take a look at this play again. You can see it. No Team trying to find whatever angles they can to start these fights off. The thing is, Fnatic, again, reading them like the morning paper, Jolly. Showing up to buy time for the TPs to come through. And at this point, like every other fight we've seen the last 10 minutes, 100 Thieves say, oh, word? We're fighting? All right.
Exactly. That's kind of, you know, what I was just referring to, too, at the beginning of the game of like, all right, you can find your successes, right? They managed to at least pick something up there. They take down Sniper, which is great. But, hey, all right, you take one, we're going to take your whole team. And that's all that you're going to get. And then on top of it, we're going to get ourselves a couple of objectives here throughout the map. So 26 and 8, we are now looking at about 13,000 gold lead in favor of 100 Thieves Next. They're kind of writing the script now at this point, down.
At this point, it feels like they've written the script. Past tense, Jolly, as it really feels like No Team. Very few, very limited avenues to get back into this game here. Feels like 100 Thieves Next have all but punched their ticket. And look at this. Look how aggressive they can be.
There it is. That's a nice amount of damage. Blaze can't even participate in the fight. That's how far ahead Array is here. That's how far ahead Insanity is in damage. And oh my goodness, all it takes is a quick weapon swap. It's going to be a deadly flourish coming out of Fnatic, picking up the soul of Scooped on that. Jin, a double kill. And another, oh, I was going to say actually clean. No, this one wasn't actually clean, but still, every time 100 Thieves Next, only losing one single member while finding an ace back to back.
They're also going to get that ace to win the game, Jolly. They have the wave, they have the Baron buff, and No Team don't have the spawn timers to do anything about it here. They'll get the 4v4 in a couple of seconds, but even there seems to be no time for that. 100 Thieves Next will punch their ticket to the playoffs in a 2-0 fashion.
2-0, 24 minutes I thought was a pretty quick game. Yeah, make it 23.5. I swear 100 Thieves is just like, I see what you're saying. I see what you like here, but let's make it better this next time. And that's exactly what they did here. It was still a better team composition from No Team. I still do like the fact that they were able to execute it out a little bit more. They were a lot safer towards the latter half of the game because of the fact that they actually had the ability to initiate or try to, you know, really just kind of disconnect from a lot of these fights, given the fact that they had a secure front line. But, you know, when you go into a team like 100 Thieves, if there are any opportunities for them to take you down, if there are any openings to where they're like, but we have this upper hand, they're going to multiply that by 10. And this is a reason that this team is already the first team now to officially be locked in here for the playoffs. And I would be surprised if I would be more surprised if we didn't see them just kind of continue on this streak and find themselves some more of these sweeps.
Absolutely. 100 Thieves, very, very constantly just reminding us that they are one of the favorites going into this tournament. They could very well win the whole thing. And keep in mind, I know Golden Guardians Academy in this tournament, and I'm still saying that, which is just insane, the level of play that this roster has shown, especially with the young talent, the more experienced talent on this roster, especially when you look at Insanity in the mid lane. It is just, there's so much to offer when you look at 100 Thieves Next, and they're constantly reminding us why they're the org that is just so well known for these days for developing talent and promoting them too, as we've seen.
Yeah, This is the this is 100 Thieves Next. They've got their academy team, right? You're talking when you bring up GGA, that's the academy team, the only academy team that is actually officially in here. So as we take a quick look at the post game breakdown, we can see just how big of a sway in gold things took place, and it was 10 minutes really where it began that massive uphill climb. But you're looking at 15,000 gold difference in only 23 minutes. We were about over 10,000 when you were looking at like 8 minutes ago, closer to 15, 17 minutes in the game, which is a massive amount. But it's something that we have come to anticipate from 100 Thieves, as crazy of a number as that is.
Right, and we're just going to continue to follow this team later on into the tournament, later on into the middle of next week to see how well they're going to perform in playoffs. Spoiler alert, it's probably going to be pretty damn good.
Right. Yeah, this is the expectation. This is not anything out of the ordinary. I like to root for the underdogs. There's a reason that every other person, analyst, caster, everybody in this had anticipated 100 Thieves coming out ahead. I was hoping to see maybe no team kind of buckle down a little bit more because we have seen some really incredible things from this team. But it's difficult to stand up to somebody when they are 100 Thieves in this young. I mean, almost they're prodigal. They really are. This is a bunch of prodigies that we have on this team, and you're going to see a lot more of them. And speaking of seeing a lot more of them, we do have an interview coming up after a very short break, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back with one of these members of 100 Thieves X answering some questions.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Izzy. I'm your interview host. I'm joined today by 100 Thieves Next Sniper. Sniper, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. Congratulations on the 2-0 series against No Team. Now, I heard about this pick from our casters just before the broadcast started, just through Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah.
Tell me about this Turbo Chem Tank Akali pick.
So I think it was my teammate, Insanity. He actually told me to try it. And it seemed really OP. I tried it earlier in solo queue, and I kind of popped off. So that's kind of where I got it from. Shout out to my mid, Insanity.
Yeah, absolutely. Credit to Insanity for the pick. Cause I did check your op.gg and I was like, how much has this been practiced? Was it
Yeah.
only that one solo queue game?
Yeah, it was. My call is pretty good, and I just need to know what to build on the champion, and then I'll take it from there.
Nice. And what are the comms like making that kind of, testing out that new tech and a competitive scene?
Um, it's like I think it's normal because I've tried it out in solo queue before, like we were just talking about. So I was pretty confident on the build, and it seemed really strong. Everyone's been trying it out recently, so I decided to pull it out, and I I did okay.
Yeah. And what do you think overall for you as a player and kind of what makes this team so flexible and, making these picks to get these competitive leads?
Yeah, I think so. I think like 3 out of 5 of my teammates have played in academy or even LCS before. So I think that like definitely helped our communication. That's like really the only thing we struggle in. I think as a team. So if we can just get our communication to be better, uh, I mean we'll be LCS level in no time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about game two. You're heading into a bit of a different, draft up against No Team with the Graves and the Viego, and then you're also, heading into their team with a couple more front lines than that game one. Were you guys nervous at all about that game, or kind of were you having different expectations, or did you kind of expect that second like grand slam of a game?
So personally, I wasn't nervous. I always play with confidence. And I think that every single one of my teammates play with confidence as well. But I think for me at least, like during my laning phase, I shouldn't have leashed. I should have just started longsword 3 pot with time rep tonic as my rune page, secondary rune page, and just fought him level 1. So I kind of grieved that, and then I got dove at level 3, and that kind of screwed my game up. But I didn't get tilted, so that's what kept us going.
Strong mental is important. Now, as a younger member of this squad, have you kind of found mentors in your more veteran teammates?
Um, Kind of, yeah. Insanity has been helping me a lot. Like shout out to David. Um, But yeah, I think like every single one of my teammates are just like amazing. They're fun to work with. They're really good too. So I'm just looking forward to having a good time and to just to just keep improving as the day go by.
Absolutely. And kind of as a follow up to that, what kind of sets a game up for you to be like, man, I love this game. This is so fun. What do you find most fun on the Rift?
So can I talk about outside of the rest for like a bit? The rest?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, it's mainly just my older brother, Viper, so like shout out to him. He kind of he kind of introduced me to the game, and I think just like now in the Rift, like in the game, I think just like trying out different types of champions. Because the past 2 months I've just been working on my champion pool since I was like previously a two trick, like a Riven Irelia player. And now I'm kind of just like seeing what I like, and I'm just trying out everything. And yeah, it's been really fun, just like trying new picks out.
Absolutely, and I love how much hunger you have for this game.
Thank
Now,
you.
kind of on the topic of brothers, I have to ask this because I myself am a twin. Are
Nice.
you and your brother identical?
We are not identical. I think there's a picture on him, of him on his Twitter. I'm not sure if you can find it anymore, but I think it's somewhere there. But yeah, we are not identical. We are fraternal twins. What about you?
Absolutely. Oh, we're not. We're very close. But we're not.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, um, great series. One last question before I go. Just at the end of the tournament, what are you looking forward to about moving on?
I'm kind of looking forward to playing against like the top tier academy teams, and LCS teams. I don't really think there's like any competition in amateur. as long as like I play good, obviously. Uh, but yeah, I don't like personally I think our team is like top academy level. I know we just started, but from scrims I think we're like really good, and we're just like trying to make our way up to LCS. I think like as a team.
Absolutely. Well, I love the confidence. Best of luck in the tournament. We're
Thank
going
you.
to throw it back to a break, and we'll return with the second series shortly.
Peace.